Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Mr. Speaker Speaks. Oh, you know, it's the show. We have fun on this podcast. It is the podcast that is informative, it's challenging and inspiring. It's real talk from real people about real things. And today we're going to learn some real things about family on today. Oh, I have a great guest, and her name is Erika Bell, and we're going to be talking about her book, Family, Funnies, and Other F Words. Don't let your mind start going all over the place with the other F words. But we're going to talk about her book on today. But before we get started, just want to give a shout out to my sponsors. Serious Web Solutions, everything from website development, graphic design, e-commerce solutions on the web at seriouswebsolutions.com. And Sirius is spelled Sirius. That's seriouswebsolutions.com. Give them a call at 850-597-1707. Let them know that you heard about it right here on Mr. Speaker Speaks. Also, my barber that keeps me looking good at Blades Barbershop. Give Dante a call at 850-999-8463. When you're ever in Tallahassee and you need a cut, go by Blades Barbershop at 2202 Lake Bradford Road. And as always, let them know Mr. Speaker told you about them. You heard it right here. Oh, like always, we have a prayer. And then we're going to have an inspirational verse of scripture. And we are going to find out today about family, funnies, and other F words. Heavenly Father, we truly thank you for the opportunity to come together, to share, to fellowship, and to help one another. God, open up the ears of my listening audience on today that they will get an understanding of what this book is all about, how it could help them, how they could benefit. And Lord, I just say thank you for the opportunity to interview Erika on today. And Lord, be with her and her family. Let your hand be upon them and all of her endeavors, her new business, the new family member, the new child, to give her the strength and energy and all that she needs to do, Lord, to be successful, that you will get the glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Our
Amen.
inspirational passage of scripture today comes from the book of Romans over in the New Testament. Romans chapter 12, verses 9 and 10. And it says, "Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good. Be kindly affection one to another with brotherly love, and honor preferring one another." The whole concept of love, brotherly love. I tell you, if everybody would just have that true love on the inside, life would be easier and this world would be a better place. My guest today on Mr. Speaker Speaks, the show where the guests really get to speak, is Erika Bell. Oh my goodness. She has her master's degree in global merchandising and product development. We're going to talk about that, get an idea of what that's all about. From FSU, you know, those Seminoles right there,
Woohoo.
right here in the heart of the capital city of the state of Florida. Well, she currently resides here. She has a husband who is in healthcare, two little kids, a little girl who is 3.5. You know, we have to say that 3.5 for the little kids because I'm not three, I'm 3.5. Uh,
Exactly.
and a little boy who is 10 months old. She is a self proclaimed neat freak, health nut, and lover of all things vintage. That's interesting. She jumps at any opportunity to travel and is gearing up for a trip to Iceland in the fall. Her heart and what she believes are some of her God given gifts, a God given talent, is connecting with others and encouraging others. She recently started her own home organizing business and loves to write any chance she gets. With that being said, Erika, welcome to Mr. Speaker Speaks. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's truly a pleasure. You know, the title of your book we're going to talk about is Family Funnies and Other F Words. Before we get into that, I'm going to ask you this question dealing with family. You know, you have a lot of good stories in the book, but what is something about Erika that no other family member knows until now?
Oh, that no other family member knows. Huh. That's tricky. You're coming right out the gate with the tough questions. Um, let's see. Gosh,
Or we could say
it's so
that few would know. I'll change
that
it, but that few people would know. Few family members would know.
oh my goodness. It's so funny because my family, even though we have such a big family, we're kind of an open book. So in a lot of ways, unfortunately, we kind of know everything about everyone. Let me think about that as we go throughout this and then maybe circle back to it because I can't think of anything offhand funny.
Okay. All right. That's fine. So when it comes to this whole thing of global merchandising and product development, what's that all about, and what sparked your interest to major in that?
Sure. So basically, I like to explain it to people as it was a creative business degree. So now, actually, my college moved to the School of Entrepreneurship. So that's very fitting for what I did. I eventually, had my own boutique at one point. Um, so basically, having a knack for making things look nice, visual merchandising. So when you walk into a store and you have that interest in buying something, you're drawn to something. That's kind of it's the studies behind all of that, why people buy things, which kind of like leads into why I like home organization and all of that as well, because I like things to look a certain way. And so it kind of drew me to that and putting things together as far as like when I had my own boutique, putting outfits together for people, making them feel confident in what they're wearing, that sort of thing. And it's interesting because I think so often your gifts from God are things that come naturally to you and things that you don't really
Hmm.
see as gifts. So, I kind of thought, oh, people can put things together or people know how to dress or, same with organizing or, people know how to do that. Well, no, a lot of people don't. A lot of people need help with it. And so as you shake your head, yeah. So I just kind of wanted to hone in on that interest and passion of mine, and that's kind of what led to that degree. And I love school, so if I could continue on, I would still be in it.
Oh, wow. As you were talking, and I heard you talk about the reason why people buy things and the way you organize things. So I was just saying, you're the ones responsible for putting all the candy at the lower levels at the checkout aisle, so all the kids could scream at the mom, "I want candy! I want this!"
And now that I'm a parent, I really regret those decisions. But yeah, no, all those impulse buys, exactly,
Yes, yes, that's what I'm saying.
exactly.
So, what was the most interesting thing you learned from that major that has helped you to be the person that you are now?
I think just to have confidence in my natural kind of gifts for it. I think it taught me the book side of things or the more studious side of things, but to trust my instinct on a lot of things. The things that you can't necessarily learn in school, but all those things help. But to trust my instincts and to really listen to these things that I think are talents and gifts from God, and kind of just focus on that as well.
Hmm. What makes Erica come alive?
Helping people definitely. Whether it is like I said with when I had my boutique and helping people with putting things together or but any aspect of my life, whether it's helping them with like their wellness journey. I'm really into fitness and I'm really into wellness and just kind of living your best life. And so encouraging people and helping people, um, that definitely makes me come alive. That and then I love traveling. That to me is there's no better thing than planning a trip and going somewhere new. I love it.
Hmm. So, how many countries have you been to?
Oh, I don't have the count offhand, but I've been to some random places. So I've got, let's see, I've been to Fiji, I've been to Mongolia, I've been to um, Ireland, I've been to South Korea, just kind of,
Hmm. Where in
but
South Korea?
I went to Seoul and then Jeju Island.
Jeju Island. And I had to ask because I was stationed in Korea when I was in the army. So I was there when the Olympics were there. I think that was 87, I think the Olympics, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
80, 88, 88. I see, 88, 89. Sometime during there when the Olympics were in Seoul,
that's
I was in
neat.
Korea. Yeah. I was down, I went to Seoul. I was down near what's called TDC Tongducheon, Korea, because I was at Camp Hovey down there off
Okay.
the army base. So yeah, so that was an interesting place for me.
Yes, yes, definitely. It was a beautiful place when I went, and I'd love to go back sometime.
Oh, so you like traveling, you like helping people. This whole thing about organization. Well, let's move to. I'm going to leave that one for a little later. This whole concept, because I'm getting to the book because you deal with this and talk about self care. Why is that so important? And here's the kicker: why is it so challenging and difficult for men when it comes to self care?
Oh, that's interesting that you say that because I feel like a lot of times women have a hard time with it. So I'm glad to know that maybe it's both sides. But I just think that you can't pour from an empty cup, as they say. So if I think if you have a family or if you have a serious job or anything that takes that attention, it's very easy to kind of put your focus on that. And you think sometimes I think people assume they're being selfish if they want to take care of themselves, and that's not the case. You have to take care of yourself so that you can give your best to other people. um, I would say if men struggle with that, maybe is it a pride thing? Is it oh, well, we got to take care of everyone else, we don't need to take care of ourselves? Maybe it's some of that. um, and I would say actually it's the same thing for women. They probably feel the same way too. We got to take care of everyone else and we can't take care of ourselves. But you have to do that. You have to set time aside for yourself, and whatever that looks like for you. Is if it's going to the gym, moving your body, walking outside. If it's getting help for something that you don't like to do, getting someone to cut your yard or to make a meal for you or to clean your house, whatever that looks like for you. Or taking a bath. That definitely is not my idea of self-care, but everyone has their own things. And I think the more we do that and the more we realize how important it is and just kind of put that into our everyday life, the better we'll be.
Does writing, because I know you like to do it, does that enter into your um, realm of self care, maybe putting you in a different place of relaxation?
Definitely, definitely. So to be able to get my thoughts out of my head and onto paper or into my blog or something like that is definitely therapeutic for me. It's very important. So my brain seems to be going 1,000 miles a minute, whether it's from being a mom or having my own business or just I've struggled with anxiety. So maybe it's just a combination of all those things. So to be able to kind of put that, be productive with those thoughts, is definitely like therapy to me. Definitely a little bit of self-care. Yes.
A little self care. So you already write and you enjoy writing, it's part of your therapeutic process. What made you want to write this book, Family, Funnies, and Other F Words?
So when I started writing the book, I was the pandemic was going on. We were kind of in the height of it, and I was working in healthcare, and I was very, very, very stressed out, very overwhelmed, as you can imagine. Um, and I just needed, I think, an outlet. And I was still writing on my blog, and I was just kind of thinking of ideas. And I just remember praying about certain things of like, what would be something good for me outside of my job? I'm giving everything to my family. I'm giving everything to this job that is so stressful right now, in this crazy pandemic that we were dealing with. And I just really heard God's voice give me ideas about, okay, you read about other people's families, you find such humor in it or you find such entertainment in it. Why not you, basically? So I kind of started thinking about my family and just laughing and writing down notes, and one thing led to another, and now it's a book.
Hmm. What did your family have to say when they found out you were writing about them and not in a fictitious way?
I know. Well, I did get everyone's permission before I published it. Most of them were just they laughed about it. Most of them because they thought, well, okay, we're not that interesting. That's kind of how they thought. So they didn't mind it at all. Um, and hopefully now they like the book, and they don't want to hurt me or anything. So don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, going through it, I really liked it. What I liked most about it was the fact that you had lessons learned at the end. Before we get into those from a specific chapter perspective, what was the greatest lesson you learned in this whole writing process to publish this book?
I think it just kind of reminded me of the importance of family and how strong those connections are, and that they're unlike any other connections that you have. Um, those people are so special to me, and if you're lucky enough to get those kind of people, we really need to cherish them and make memories with them and make real efforts to connect with them. A lot of my family does not live close to me, so it does take effort, but it's so worth the effort once you do it. Um, I think that's, and just reminding that myself that everyone has lessons to teach us. So it may be, you may have an annoying uncle that you think, oh my goodness, I do not want to be with him on this barbecue, at this barbecue on Saturday or whatever, but there's something that you can learn.
I call him Uncle Ned.
You have
Everybody has Uncle Ned. It's like, oh my goodness, but he family. He family. Just give him a plate at the family reunion. Sit him in the corner. He good.
exactly. But it's so funny. We laugh at those things, but they really, everyone can teach us something, and everyone has some kind of value that they're bringing into our lives. And it's not by accident, that God has placed these people in our lives. And so just kind of reminding myself of that, definitely.
Yes. And all the stories that are in the book, when you look back over your life to where you are now, you talk about adding value. What family member has added the most value to your life, and how did they do it?
My mom, definitely. Her and I mean, we have the closest connection that I have with anyone. She's all things good in this world, yeah, I like to say, and she'll kind of brush that off and, shoo it, but it's true. She's a great inspiration as a woman. She's a great inspiration as a mother, and she's a good person.
What was the one thing that she taught you that you will pass on to your daughter?
I think the importance of being independent, being able to take care of yourself as a woman, as a mother, eh, that is important. And just really to be kind to people. Um, she's very gracious. She treats everyone with kindness. It doesn't matter who you are. Eh, she's the nicest person I know. And so I think that's a very valuable lesson that I want to teach my kids. And just to remember every day.
When I saw the book, I was at a gym, and I saw it behind the counter, and the title just caught my attention. What do you want the reader to walk away with from reading this book in its entirety?
I want them to have some laughs in the book. I want them to maybe I want it to be relatable. So I think, like I said, everyone has these types of family members. So to be able to see in their family members some value or some, humor with them or some lessons that they can learn. I hope they walk away with it laughing a little bit, and just learning little tidbits. I think it's just a humorous way for self-help. I'm a self-help book junkie. But sometimes they can be really stiff, or they can just be just a little too much. And I never want to force self-help down someone's throat. you know, that's not how they're going to digest it anyways. So, just
Yes.
hey, this
Probably
is what
spit it back out at you.
exactly. But this is what I've learned, and if you can take it, great. Here's things that I think are important, and maybe you'll find some importance in it as well.
Yeah. Wow. Opening up, the first one, I had to get a chuckle because when I saw it, I was like, I live here in Tallahassee, but I'm from South Florida, down in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, down there. And when I saw a gold tooth grandma, I was like, Grandma got a gold. I was like, I don't, see too many people up north with a gold tooth. And when I saw that one, I was like, gold tooth grandma. But when you look at the lessons learned from that one, eat slowly and unapologetically be yourself. Talk to us about grandma with the gold tooth.
Oh, grandma, gold tooth granny, grandma Pat. Oh, it's so funny. So rest in peace. She's in heaven now. But she had some good life lessons, that's for sure. I do love the eat slowly thing. That to me is not something that I'm good at, and so I try to be better at it. Um, but unapologetically being yourself, she did not. I mean, she she would do anything she wanted to do, and it we would look at her and think she is so ridiculous. But how
Mm,
inspiring is that? I mean, if you are yourself, you give others permission to be themselves as well. And that to me is incredible. You know, just to totally be yourself, be as open as you want with people, just don't apologize for being who you are. I think that's inspiring.
mm. And I saw that one, and then I was like, the contrast. And so now we have gold tooth grandma, and then gracious granny. How you seem like you knew I was going to go there with that one. I mean, what's the difference between the two and the lessons there that you talk about telling people what you think of them and how you feel about them, which brings me to, I believe it was Maya Angelou said that most people won't remember, and I'm paraphrasing, what you say, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Yes.
Talk about that with gracious.
Oh, gracious granny. So these two grandmas could not be further from, I mean, they just couldn't be more different, and it's so funny. She When you think of my grandma Reid, gracious granny, she she's the typical grandmother, that she doesn't squeeze your cheeks, but it's pretty close to that kind of grandmother, you know.
Mm.
Um, exactly. I mean, and she thinks her grandkids just hung the moon, but it's important, I mean, I'll call her and have 2-minute conversations with her, and all she tells me is how proud she is of me, how much she loves me. Why am I not doing that more? Why am I not calling people and telling them I'm so proud of you, or I'm so fortunate to have you in my life? So those are things that no one ever gets tired of hearing those types of things.
Mm. And there's some very interesting stories. We can't leave, the love of your life out of this. So when I started reading it, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to ask her about this. Okay, so the hysterical hubs, that chapter in the book. Okay, explain the relationship. Okay, your husband's father met your mother. I was trying to to follow along with that, and tell us a little bit about that story and
Oh, funny.
the lessons learned there.
Absolutely. So we met. So my mother was working for a company that my husband's dad, my father-in-law, owned. So healthcare, we've all have these healthcare roots. So then my now husband trained under my mother. So my mom has kind of been his mentor in the business, out of the business, and all of that. So that's how we originally met. Um, and he's just the most hysterical guy. He makes me laugh every day. And I mean, you can't underestimate how laughter is just such good medicine. You can't underestimate the power of it.
Yeah. So in that lesson learned, you had don't be afraid to be silly. What was the most silliest thing he's done? Your husband
Oh my goodness. He's silly
that you can
every
share.
yeah, right. He's just silly every day. And just it's just silly. stupid things, I mean, whether it's a silly accent, a silly voice, that he used to just do for me. And I tell him I'm an easy laugh. Like I will laugh at everything. And so he constantly is trying to make me laugh. But uh, it's funny now that he's a dad, he does it with our kids, which just makes me laugh even harder. So even this evening, I hear this noise and I'm thinking, what is that sound? He's supposed to be giving these kids a bath and they're just dying laughing. They're just all in hysterics. And he's just blowing into a cup, making this noise, and they are just dying laughing at it. I mean, it's just silly things like that. That it's like, why does he think to do that? I don't know, but it ends up just being hysterical, his delivery.
Wow. You're listening to Mr. Speaker Speaks, and my guest today is the one, the only, and world renowned. I put it out there in the atmosphere, Erika Bell, and she's talking to us today about her book, Family Funnies and Other F Words, and sharing a little bit about her life. Looking at over your life and growing up, and you're in healthcare, and you started out in global merchandising. What was a pivotal moment in your life that helped you to become the person you are now? What was that life changing moment?
I don't know if it was one kind of, you know, lightning bolt or thunder strike or anything like that, but I think it's just been throughout my life getting closer in my relationship with God. I think, I grew up in church, but until you really have that personal connection with Him, your life doesn't change. And I can definitely say, after I got married, and then especially when I was starting to become a mother and having kids, I've never spent more time in prayer.
Mm,
And so those have been the hardest moments of my life, but it's also brought me closer to God. And so, I don't look back and have just one moment where things completely change, but I can see when I do look back on my life, oh, God's hand was in that. Oh, God's hand was in that. Oh, I just continue to say that. And the more I see that, the more I rely on Him and the stronger my faith becomes. And so I think that's the biggest change for me, or the biggest growing points for me.
mm. What is one or two things that you would share with a young woman right now between the ages of about 18 and 25? What would you share with them that if you would have known then, being a woman, would have made you a lot better and stronger sooner? Because one of my friends told me this one time. He says, the earlier you get better, the better you get later. And what is
Love that. I love that.
so what is one or two things that you would share to help them get better earlier?
I think to listen to your gut in certain things, have confidence in yourself, that you don't need others for their approval or anything like that. To lean on God. Um, I think the biggest thing though is to just to trust your instinct. If things don't feel right, then they aren't right for you. Um, in whatever situation that may be. Um, and never underestimate how strong you are. Women are so strong, and I think a lot of times they don't feel that way, and we really should. We need to change that narrative, and we need to feel as strong as we are.
Yeah. And this is going to be a difficult question or challenging question in reference to what you just said. What do you think causes women, and this is your own view, to not feel as strong? Is it something in society? Is it the construct of family? What is it that contributes to that, in your opinion?
I think it could be both those things, whether maybe how they're raised, or I think sometimes growing up in the South, a lot of times women, that they are meant to get married and have kids and kind of just be with their husbands. I mean, that sounds old fashioned, but it still rings true in a lot of places. Um, so to have their own identity away from that, and I think there is kind of a what's the best word? I think women are kind of starting to see themselves as very powerful over the last, maybe 10 years or so, maybe more, but we need more people to continue to be leaders in that. So yeah, I think it's just a variety of things. I think it is our society and how we look at women. Um, and hopefully that's changing.
Hmm. What is one book that you've read that you would recommend to anyone and why?
My one of my favorite books is called The Geography of Bliss, and it's by Eric Weiner. And it was written, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. It's not new, but it is great. So it's one man's journey to find happiness, and he goes to a variety of different countries and figures out which is the happiest and why. Um, so he's from America, so he talks about the United States. He goes to Iceland. He goes to all these places that maybe we wouldn't see as being happy, or and he just kind of tells us his findings, and to me it's really, really interesting and really eye-opening. As Americans, I think sometimes we find like maybe money will make us happy, or maybe a more successful job will make us happy, whereas if you go to European countries, they have a totally different outlook on it. So I would highly, highly recommend it.
Hmm. Thank you for that reading recommendation
Yes.
there. But of course, we're going to recommend your book as well, Family Funny and Other F Words, to put on their list. Where can my listening audience obtain a copy of your book and connect with you?
Sure. So, erikareidbell.com is my website, and I know you'll send out the links to everyone. There you can find my blog, you can find links for the book. You can order it on Amazon, you can order it from Barnes and Noble. You can get both an ebook or or a paperback copy. Also, if you're in the Tallahassee area, you can get it at Midtown Reader as well.
All right. Are you going to be doing any more book signings at all, or?
I hope so, and I will definitely keep everyone up to date. You can follow me on social media at Erika Reid Bell. And then I'll definitely let everyone know about that, because I would love to do more of that.
Hmm. Healthcare author, just overall entrepreneur. Tell us about the home organization
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. So kind of circling back to what we were saying earlier, things that come naturally to us, we don't realize are gifts. And that is very much one of them. I have been kind of like you said in the beginning, a neat freak. For as long as I can remember, I've helped family members, I've helped neighbors, kind of with their spaces. I think that an organized home leads to a decluttered mind, and that to me is very, very important. And so, just helping people organize their spaces, clean it up, whether it's a playroom or an office space. A lot of us are working from home these days, and so
Yes.
all the papers, what do you do with them, and just kind of making sense of your space and giving people systems that
Hmm.
they can, once I leave their home, that they can kind of keep up with. And I love doing it. I love puzzles, and I think the home organizing is very much like a puzzle. Where do we put things? Do we donate things? What, kind of what works for everyone. And I love doing it.
Hmm. And you kind of mentioned this, but one of the things I really know about organization when it comes to even, your office, your filing system, it saves a lot of time in looking for things and a lot of effort. What are some of the other benefits of just being organized?
Yeah, no, you definitely are right with that. How many times have you said, "Oh my gosh, where is blank?" And you can't find it. If you have systems, then you can get back to it. But I really do think the biggest thing for me is that it helps your mind. It helps declutter your mind. We all have thousands of things on our mind at each day, and if your space that you go to in your home can be organized and can, kind of be tidy, it helps with the mental side of things. So, if you have kids, it helps with, kind of running all of that and making sure you know where everything is for them, or even just your spouse. my husband maybe will sometimes get annoyed with me because I think I'm too organized. He, hey, where did you put that? Well, I put it in the place that makes sense.
Makes sense to who?
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think it just makes things work smoother too.
Hmm. With all that you do, involved in so much, and with young kids at home, how do you go about balance,
Mm,
work life balance? And not, work life, because, I'm just going to put it out there, and this may be a generalization, but when kids come along, hubby gets left out of the picture, man. So how do you maintain
totally.
that and
Totally.
keep him acting silly?
Yeah, exactly. So our pastor recently said something that resonated with me. It was keep the most important things most important. So kind of keeping that in mind. What is the most important things in my life? Yes, I love helping people. I love writing. I'm so proud to have written this book. I want to sell it to people. I want it to get it in people's hands. I want to help people organize their homes. I want all these things. But the most important thing is my relationship with God. And then it needs to be my relationship with my husband. And then the kids. So one thing we really try to do is family dinners, put your phone away, focused on each other, focused on the family. Date nights, we try to do those. Probably we need to do them more than we do, but but just keeping in mind the order that things should be in, the hierarchy of things. And then when you're at work, give your all to work, but when you're home, give your all at home. And really kind of setting those boundaries. I think everyone needs to have boundaries when it comes to work, especially I think as Americans, like we're constantly connected. We're constantly, our employer may be emailing us or this, that, and the other. And we have to set these boundaries that, after 5 p.m. or after 6 p.m. or whatever it is, that's family time. Um, and and I think most people would respect that when you say that. So I think just kind of keeping those boundaries strong, and having designated times for work and designated times for family, and just sticking with it.
Yeah, and it's challenging, especially
Mm-hmm.
when you enjoy people and helping people. That one word that kids have no problem with saying, we as adults find it so difficult to say it because a little kid will tell you no, 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 but we have a hard time telling people no.
Yeah.
How do you get around that? How
You
do
know,
you tell people I can't do it right now?
Yeah, I think I've read something recently just reiterating the fact that no is a complete sentence. I don't have to give, reasonings behind it. If I say no and it's just to, kind of respect my own time, that's enough for people. And you know what? Most of the time they're fine with that. No, I can't do this or I'll help you another time. Most of the time, I think it's our own insecurities or it's our own pressure we put on ourselves. It's not necessarily other people putting it on us. So to say no and stick with that.
Most definitely. I concur because a lot of times we feel in ourselves that we don't want to let anybody down, but yet we
Yes.
take on all this stuff. And what I've been told, the first wealth is health. And if you take on too much stuff, that goes back to your whole concept of self-care, you won't be any good to anyone at all.
No. Yeah. There's no prize in spreading yourself thin and trying to do it all.
No, no. I can't remember which chapter this was in, but I just thought about how can somebody mess up a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Talk to us about that story. I can't remember which chapter it was in and who it was referring to, but I'm like, how do you mess up a PB and J?
Oh my gosh. So this is one of my husband's friends, and he is the most like OCD person I know. And I'm pretty OCD, so that's saying a lot. You have to use two separate knives, one for the peanut butter, one for the jelly. I'm not even that OCD now, okay? But yet he will bite his toenails. And I'm thinking, those two things do not go together at all. I don't understand how you could be the same person, and I just don't get it. But oh, people, they are we're all pretty complex, huh?
Wow, that's the peanut butter. You know, one night, I mean, I use the same, and some people scoop it out with the. I use one knife.
Me too. Me too. And listen, I make a peanut butter and jelly every morning for my daughter. And you know what? I think you and I are onto something. That's the right
Yeah,
way.
I use one knife, spread it on, and then when you put it on the edge of the bread to get the rest of it
Yes,
off, then you stick
yes,
it in the jelly, and you, you know,
yes. You're gonna be eating it like that anyway. So come
anyway.
on.
Yeah, I thought that was funny,
Oh
but
my gosh.
from your brother, you learn the lessons. Embrace everyone, make friends with anyone. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So that's probably something that, our mom instilled in us. Like I said, she's kind to everyone, and I'm sure he probably got that from her. He has never met a stranger, everyone is his friend. He wants to be friends with everyone. And I think there's something really nice in that. We walk through so many parts of our lives alone, whether it's, when you go to a restaurant and you're just picking up a lunch, or if you go to the gym and you don't know anyone, having that sense of community and connection with people is so important. We're not meant to live our lives, alone. So the fact that he kind of embraces everyone, sometimes it gets on my nerves, but in the end, it's really a beautiful thing.
Hmm. We've talked about families, shared some funnies. What are some of the other F words? Friends come to mind.
Friends, faith is a big one. You'll have to read the book. Your listeners have to read and find out what those other F words are. We can't give it all away
Yeah, I know. That's why I started to put out there. I mean, I kind of know it. I happen to have a copy. So
now. Yeah,
I know, but
exactly.
to spark the interest. But I mean, it is just a funny book about family, and when you can share those things and help other people, because that's what life is all about. The things that you go through is to help someone else, and that's what I've learned throughout my life. When it's all said and done, Erika, what would you like for people to say about you? How would you like to be remembered?
I would like people to say that I was kind, that I was helpful, that I was giving, that I was a woman of faith, um, that I was fun. That's another good F word.
Yeah, I know. I was like, she's giving them all out now.
Yeah, yeah. No, just all those things, just very basic things that, I was a good mom, a caring wife, a respectful daughter, just basic things like that.
Final question of this interview, unless you take us further. And I think I already know the answer to this question, but it's my classic question that I like to end with on each and every show. You've done so many things, you've interacted with so many people, you've traveled, and you're going to travel some more. And all that you do, and all the people that you interact with, all the things that you've put your hands to do, what matters most to Erika?
My family, definitely. Just being close with them and going through life with them, and my relationship with God, raising my kids in a faith-based home, um, having a good relationship with my husband. Those things are most important to me. Having laughs every day. Um, Everything else can kind of fall by the wayside if I have those things.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you want family there with you. Oh, this has truly been great. Family, funnies, and other F words. Tell the listening audience once again how they can go ahead and get their copy of this wonderful book, Erika.
Go to Amazon, get it on Amazon, or visit my website at erikareidbell.com, and it'll give you lots of links from different places, Barnes and Noble, or basically wherever you like to buy your books.
All right. You got to get the book. We've touched on just a few things, but we had both the grandmothers, the husbands, the brothers, the uncle, not just the uncle, but the knuckleheaded
Yeah.
uncle. Oh, the entertaining tot. Oh, the unconventional dad. So many stories that can help you uh, in your life. Get a copy of the book. Mr. Speaker recommends it. Erika, it has truly been a pleasure and a joy interacting and having a conversation with you tonight on Mr. Speaker Speaks.
I agree. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's truly a pleasure. And listening audience, you can check me out on the internet at vincenttedwards.com. Find out more about training opportunities at vincentondemand.com. Life is all about purpose. And the question I always ask is, do you know yours? Remember, in all that you do, be magnificent. And until next time, be good, be blessed, but most of all, have fun with your family. Share some funny stories. But
Yes.
most of all, be a blessing to someone.